we've got one more piece of bonus content for you for Stories Around the Campfire.
I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm going to give it to you straight about Jason.
Hey, come back! Oh.
This time, we got a chance to review Lucky, which drops on Shudder March 4th. Guys, this is a strange one. The surreal feminist thriller follows a self-help book author, May, played by Brea Grant, who also wrote the script, by the way. She suddenly finds herself stalked by an elusive and dangerous man and becomes caught in a struggle to regain control of her life. Sounds interesting. Ziggy, what were your thoughts on Lucky?
Pretty sure I got what's going on in this movie. It is very much left open to interpretation. It's not bad, man. It's an interesting ride. It's in the form of a slasher, but not really. So much left unexplained. You know, I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about it too, but I enjoyed this thing, man. Right down to the ending, because like I said, I didn't really, that part of it, I was kind of like, whoa, well, what's going on here? I said, I feel like I had a good finger on the pulse, but it sums up, and I'll wait until you guys do your thing too, but it all sums up to one thing in my mind. But I did enjoy it. It's not a bad fucking ride.
There's a lot of symbolism in this movie, and it's dripping with symbolism, and we're going to touch on some of that here in a minute. But Colonel, first initial thoughts for you.
Man, it wasn't too bad. It was an enjoyable ride, really. Eventually, start taking left turns, trying to wrap my mind around this. But I had fun saying, okay, well, what's she going to do tonight? What's she going to do tonight? What's she going to do tonight? And I still love her frustration on her face. Like every time she's like, son of a bitch. Like, I really enjoyed it. The symbolism, when the credits hit.
I get it. I want to get into this together when we get to that, what these symbolisms are. Okay. We can all bring it out together.
And I was going to get to that point. I was not going to dig into it. I was just going to say, as the end credits rolled, trying to wrap my mind around all the symbolism in this film took me a while. I honestly couldn't tell you how I felt about this film at the end of it. Because it's a fucking thinker at the end. I'll tell you that.
Damn, Colonel. I kind of felt the same way, because at the end, I finished watching it. I turned it off. I took a break for a minute to think about it. And then as I was thinking about it, I was like, I want to watch this scene again. I want to watch that scene again. And I went back and watched 4 or 5 different scenes like over, just because I wanted to pay a little bit more attention to other aspects of different scenes after I first watched it.
It's a lot going on. I did the same thing. I sat there like the thinker while the credits are rolling, you know, just going like, I did the same thing. I went back and watched 2 scenes, one of them being the ending.
Let me get to this point, because first of all, as men, I think it's difficult for us to honestly review this film. This movie is going to come across a lot differently for women than it does for men. And there's a very distinct reason for this that we're going to get into. With that being said, I thought this was a bizarre, convoluted narrative that includes a powerful message, several powerful messages, really, underneath the disorienting visualizations. All of that was well done. And I'm not saying convoluted as an insult. I'm not saying disorienting as an insult. I'm saying it was done purposefully for the film. It starts so simply, and you think it's just kind of going to be a basic, straightforward home invasion flick with a little bit of a Groundhog Day twist. But then as you progress, it's clearly not. It was an interesting ride. I'm not quite sure I had fun with it, like you guys have said. It was an interesting ride, to say the least. Again, Brea Grant is in this. She plays May, the victim, and she seems to be stuck in some kind of time loop, facing the same attacker every night. Each time she defeats him, he disappears without a trace, leaving her to try to explain what happened to authorities, her husband, her family, friends, etc. And I'll start with this first allegory. This seems to be kind of a metaphor for abuse victims, possibly the Me Too movement, as no one really seems to believe her. Is that one simile that you saw in this film, Ziggy?
Yes, and just the way they're just condescendingly just brushing her off like, oh yes, and then move right to the next question as if she said nothing that had any gravity, about a man broke into my fucking house and attacked me. Oh, your husband, he works where? It's just shit like that. Just they move right along without blinking an eye, and it's nobody believes her for sure. That yes, I think you hit it with that one for sure.
Oh yeah, Zach hit the nail on the fucking head. It's literally every follow-up question was about her husband. Oh, where's your husband?
Mm-hmm.
She okay. What's your husband think? It's literally her words meant nothing.
That brings me to my next theme that I saw then, because this is leading perfectly. I feel like I wrote these notes thinking of you guys in mind. The next theme that I got was a major theme of like gaslighting, especially when it came to her speaking to authorities and male characters in this film. If you pay attention to the male, every single line of dialogue from the male characters is almost fucking verbatim typical lines that you would hear from someone gaslighting or from someone that's not sure they want to believe you. Things like, you're so brave and you're lucky that it didn't get worse. Things like that, symbolizing the common tropes that women hear who have escaped from abusive situations. And I don't know, maybe I'm going out on a limb and just saying maybe they're not lucky. Maybe they just took the situation into their own hands and dealt with it rather than, oh, you're lucky it didn't get worse. All this stuff kind of leaves May, at least, and the viewer for a while, feeling confused and scared, wondering not only what could happen next, but how anyone would believe if she told anybody about what was going on. Did you sense the gaslighting moments as well, Colonel?
Well, of course. Just what bothered me when you're talking about the gaslighting is why she felt the need to keep calling authorities, which kind of goes into the gaslighting thing. I understand. She took it into her own hands, but yet she still continued to call the police and ask for more cops sitting out front of the house to keep an eye on them. And they weren't paying a bit of a fucking attention, which I understand. It goes towards, like you said, the domestic violence. Like all this really leads into it, which I have thoughts about something, but I can't say it till we get to it. Don't want to piss Zag off. I'll wait.
Let's just get into it. Ziggy, what's the thing you want to talk about?
It starts with her getting some bad news about one of her books and how they're not going to publish another line and everything. And but she's on the fence of whether or not she's going to be renewed and getting a nice advance on the next book. This all stems into her breakdown, what I think it is. And in her mind, I just think someone's losing it here. I think she has huge abandonment issues because that's when things really trigger. And then, just the way his husband just like, you're going to be hostile. I can't talk to you. And he fucking bounces for days.
So you think this was all just in her head?
Well, just look at what she's seeing at the end.
Then how is it happening to other women?
Well, that's the thing. Obviously, yeah, she wrote these books, these empowerment books. And, I was almost like, wow, is she being inspired to write her next book? Is that what we're looking at here? And
somebody asked her that.
What's what I mean? This is so much interpretation needed to take you through this. I mean, it's going to mean something different to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
When we get to this, especially that ending, man.
Colonel, do you agree with Ziggy on that?
No, I wouldn't say I agree with Zag, but I'm not saying he's wrong either. The way I saw it, this movie was about domestic violence all the way through. Because they mentioned in the movie how she cheated on her husband, and the next thing you know, this starts. Every night this killer starts showing up. She doesn't seem to know what's going on, but her husband does. It's like, oh, he comes every night. You don't remember? It's almost like she blocked this part out, but now it's coming back to haunt her. When she's hostile, which she wasn't. She's trying to have a conversation with this fucking guy. Like Zach said, he takes off for days. Like I'm not trying to hear. I'll come back when you calm down. I mean, how many people have said that to other people when hey, what's going on? We're not going to talk. We'll wait till you calm down. And he's trying to mansplain it to her to an extent. And she's like, no, what's going on? And he takes off. And later on in the film, we find out like literally every woman has a killer that comes every night that tries to kill them. I think it's like they're all fighting with these demons from their partners of the opposite sex. That's where the symbolism kind of started taking me one way.
But you're saying that this is a physical thing happening in the real world, that there's every night women running around with the guy in a mask chasing them.
Yeah. I mean, the line of questioning when she killed him at her sister-in-law's house. They all show, she's like, I just talked to you. He's like, yeah. And everybody's asking these weird-ass questions. To me, like, they were just blowing off like, come on, she don't fucking, come on. We all know what happened. It's common fucking knowledge.
They're almost sing-songing the questions to her in a way.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so condescending and just so unhelpful. That scene is glorious in its satirical look at this kind of situations. It does it in a way that's both kind of poignant and funny. I thought that was a glorious scene. It took me a minute. That was one I had to go back and rewatch, to be honest with you, because I was just like, I really want to look at that again. All right, here's the thing then. It seems like we all three took something not quite completely different, but at least slightly different, because what I got from this was overall, this film is kind of basically stating, and for good reason, that living as a woman is a constant struggle. And this film portrays it in the most extreme of situations while simply explaining it as that's just how things are now. Because you hear that line a few times in the film. It's dark and kind of a realistic overview of the world from a woman's point of view. And it's because of some of these overall themes that makes me feel like it's tough for us to review this. Obviously, we're not women. And I'll say it again, this movie is going to get looked at a lot differently by a woman, especially someone that may have been in an abusive relationship, or especially with someone that has gone through some gaslighting. That's just my take on it. I mean, does that make sense to anybody? Ziggy?
Yes, it does. It just, movies like this obviously, as a man, I'm going to see it differently. And I can obviously relate to that and understand what they're trying to paint there, and how it ends too. I mean, that's what gets me back to the abandonment thing, because she's still fighting at the end of it. Yeah.
Well, and she's going to continue to fight.
Right.
That's what the ending means. And to me,
yes.
Again, she beat him one more day, but she knows this is not over. In a weird way, that's how women feel. I shouldn't even say in a weird way. That's just how women feel.
I just do feel the door swings both ways too here, though. It's hard. Like I said, we're three fucking guys, but I do feel we're intelligent enough to, see what we're looking at and take it the right way. But I mean, this one, hey man, has interpretation. It's all over it. I also felt she was breaking apart. So I mean, it's all in there, man. You gotta pretty much get it on and lock in. Don't have any distractions around when you're watching this movie. I didn't hate it. As for something that you would think is this one-sided, you'd think it would not be a good story. And it's pretty fucking good. I don't really dig the movies that leave interpretation like this. It's too far vast to come up with the exact what they mean.
Well, a lot of filmmakers that do films like this don't want to give just their specific feelings or thoughts. If that's what they wanted to do, they would spell it out for you in the script or in the film. And I think they want it open. I think they want.
Yeah, and this style, it is better than the average of them. Okay, better than most, we can even say, with this style of telling. But it's still that way. You're going to come out of this probably with your own opinion and view of this, of what you saw. So
absolutely,
yeah, get ready. But it's a decent ride, man. I gotta stick with that. It was definitely cool.
Let me ask you guys something here. Colonel, have you ever been a victim of gaslighting that you can recall?
No, I'm not I can think of. I'm sure I have been, but I can't give you not on the spot. Like here, yeah, December 12th, 1988, 1999. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure I have, but I don't know.
I'm not asking for dates and specific times and all that shit, but
yeah, but you still got to think back through time. Okay, I'm sure I have been.
Well, I mean, I think if you had like a specific memory in mind, I think this movie would have brought it to your forefront and you'd be able to grab it pretty quick, to be honest with you. That's one of the reasons why I asked. How about you, Ziggy? Have you?
Oh, yeah. I a prominent memory of being gaslit at a job I was at in the radio industry. The operations manager and the fucking GM were two of the biggest dicks. Just tools. They did between the two of them. I don't think they could have turned on the fucking tape recorder. Nothing. They had no knowledge of this. Just they were pretty much the house mothers sent here from Atlanta for this cluster of radio stations. My job was creative services director. I basically sat there, I created commercial spots, and I would sit with the bonehead sales reps who only know how to sell and convince these clients that they should buy this and this is how we should approach it, make them feel included. And then the assholes closed the deal on it. What they did was they fired all the staff pretty much. They left us with interns all over the place in each department. So I'm in the fucking meeting going, guys, you're setting us up for catastrophe. There's no fucking way these people are going to be able to carry this load. No fucking way.
Right.
And so fast forward a year and a half, everything explodes. We lose all this money for blowing these ads. They're looking around who to blame, so they come at me and people in my office, like, well, this is on you guys. It's like, I was like, no, it's not. I told so-and-so, I'm not going to name him, that, this exactly was going to happen. And then, yeah, I got fired. And the whole deal was while we're walking out, I'm packing my box and he's just going, well, yeah, this job, it's not for everybody. It's really hard. It's hard for people. It's really, really hard, and just I kept saying shit like that to the point where I wanted to fucking punch him in the nose. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, get back the fuck up, Don't fucking come at me like that.
You know what? You're lucky you had a job in radio. I mean, because that's just how things are now.
Right. Yes. That's it. You're just, hey, that's, what? At least you did it for a while. It was good. You had a good run.
You had a good run there. You had a good run, kid. Before we dissect the ending, the reason I asked you guys about a gaslighting incident in your lives is I'm going to get a little personal for a moment, if you guys don't mind. I had an ex several years ago that kind of took advantage of the knowledge that my grandparents had both suffered from Alzheimer's disease. And basically, for a good chunk of our relationship, she had me convinced that I was already in my 30s experiencing like early onset Alzheimer's. So let's say during our relationship, I would wake up several mornings and just find her packing a bag or loading the car for some trip that I had no knowledge of. I was not aware of this trip at all. She would just say, she's going to her mother's or her aunt's for a few days and that we had talked about it a couple of days prior. Now, this was at a time also when I was self-employed and we shared a vehicle. The use of the vehicle was kind of important for my job. This was before I was just some lowly karaoke DJ. So I had to go out and visit clients and collect invoices and shit like this a lot. And being without a vehicle for 3 or 4 days while she's at her mother's was kind of difficult. I tried to explain that to her. Didn't matter. She'd pack, she'd leave, she'd come back a few days later. Everything just went back to normal. And this happened a lot, twice a month. Every time I would be like, you never told me about this trip. If you had, I would have planned the rest of my week around the fact, knowing that I was going to be stuck at home for a few days. And every time I would bring that up, she would just kind of look at me like something was wrong. And I had just forgotten or wasn't listening to her. Although I could recall other pieces of the conversation, no, we did not talk about this. For a long time, felt like, man, this shit's setting in early in my 30s. I didn't think it really started coming in until like 40s or 50s. It wasn't until after she left and I discovered, some other shit about her, I realized she played those concerns about my family's Alzheimer's and used them for her own devious plans. And that, to me, is one of the most diabolical, just awful things a human can do.
Someone manipulating the fucking real deal, the real shit, and they're right on top of you. I get it. You start questioning yourself. I get it.
Because it became so common that she was just like, we talked about this. I already told you we were, what we were doing. And no, we didn't talk about that. You say this all the time that we talked about it and you didn't. And she's like, that's why I'm kind of worried about you. That made me start, like you said, start questioning other stuff. This film kind of reminded me of that a little bit. All right, Ziggy, you've been wanting to talk about this fucking ending for a while. So, guys, this might be some spoilery shit coming up.
Depending on how you took this movie, I might not be spoiling anything. Once again, takes him down. They both go down together. They're laying on the floor staring at each other. And this killer, as he's down, until you look away, he's incapacitated. He's there.
Mhm.
And she peels the mask off, but you could see underneath there's all kinds of like digital shifting going on. The face is becoming other faces. It's her husband. I'm assuming it's her father because we saw those pictures.
It's
That's
the
what
detective. It's the
the
cop.
detective is there.
It's
Yeah,
the EMT worker. It's the guy
Oh,
that was
God.
in the coffee shop. You know,
Every guy. It's hard for me to put this into a reality-based world where there's oh, you're outside, we're just driving to the store, and up there goes Marcy, and her killer's right on. Hope gets ahead of it. Just like then the dude was like, "Wow, I hope he doesn't have any good weapons tonight." At the very beginning,
right?
I mean, the shit that was like intriguing to me. It made me go, "Ooh, what do we got here?" I mean, it's not what you expect, but it's still a hell of a ride. A little bit of a letdown to get all through this just to find out, like, oh, it's me.
Two different reasons, but led us to the same conclusion. Take off the mask, it's every man. What I appreciated about this ending was, again, I don't like being thrown into a group. That's what society does anymore. Everybody's thrown into a fucking group. At least with this one, I had a fun ride before I got the finger point.
That's a beautiful way to look at it, there, Colonel. I love that. That's kudos to you, sir. That's great.
I have to say, these up and coming filmmakers, technically, your shit looks great. It all looks good, man.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because that was the thing of the ending that I really liked was the lighting shift and just the entire cinematography shift. A huge change there at the end. And when they're in that, she starts the car and it's daytime and she's outside and she's just starting the car and then snap, she's in the parking garage. Like, what? Then the lights start going red every time she looks down a hallway and something's going on down there and something's going on over here. The way the cinematography switched around so severely, I thought that was just a well done scene.
No, I agree with you. I mean, there's not much to add because you nailed it. It was great. It's another one I haven't seen before, but it was great for this movie. It's very fitting. The one I like the best is when she got in the car and then boom, her husband's in there. Oh, where'd you come from? And then she's home. She's like, this isn't where I want to be. She's like at their house. And he's like, no, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
It's like,
Again, that's another one of those damn lines that women or even people in general will hear all the time from people that are abusing or gaslighting or whatever.
Maybe this is where you need to be.
Right.
yeah, not even the lines. I mean, even the killer himself. I mean, they don't reveal it till towards the end, but every time he's around, you hear this jingling. Jing, 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 jing. When you get to him, he has a set of keys for everything.
Yeah.
Like he knows everything. She's like, that's not fair.
What's what I mean?
Which I thought was great symbolism there. It's like goes back to the gaslighting and don't want to bring the crank story.
And again,
that was a key she had.
it just kept pointing me back to this is all in her head. She's lost it.
I didn't know what to expect when she took the mask off, but I thought the ending being fitting that she did have to take the mask off because that, again, just another symbol. What was under there, that works. And you recognize most of those faces that you see from previously in the film. And I thought that it fit. Most of the time, films like this that have a message like this are, as Colonel pointed out, are so overbearing and so, you're such a bad person, like in your face. I didn't think this one did that. And I appreciate it for that. Although it still had a very powerful message for women all over out there. And again, I feel odd talking about it, but it's kind of what we do here,
This isn't a waste of time at all. It's a decent story. It's just chock full of, as we said at the beginning, symbolism. So just get ready for that. But it's it's still not like the movie that will not be named. I don't feel absolutely persecuted from the fucking opening credits. So
right. Colonel, give us a number.
For me, this was a edge of your seat thriller. Like, I really enjoyed going for this ride because you didn't know where it was going to take you. And it was great, even though, like Zag, I prefer a nice little bow on most of my movies to end it. Like, here you go, that's done. The open interpretation worked for the ending of this film. And I'll even let the little finger point at the end slide. I'll give it a 7 because, like I said, I had a fun time really getting to the end.
I also like this movie. There's just enough gravity there where you can stay in orbit and follow it. Another 7.
Am I rubbing off on you guys? Is that what's going on here? Am I making you more
God, I hope not.
Socially conscious? Shut the fuck up. I heard that.
I didn't give yourself too much credit. You guys know I don't get personal, but I have 2 daughters. I have to look at things in a different way, buddy, than I did before.
All right, good point. Good point.
I just think we have, we have a lot of access to things now that we didn't have before, and I'm seeing more stuff, and hey, I'm open to it. I like good movies. I don't care what they're about.
Here's the thing. I had a hard time getting into this film the first time I watched it, which is one of the reasons why I went back and watched a few scenes over, because it's a heavy female leaning film. I mean, it's just the tendencies lean heavily towards that. But I can appreciate it for what it is and what it's trying to say. One thing I will add, though, it's not just men who are holding women down, and it's not just men who can be abusive to their female partners. That can go both ways. It's a systemic behavioral trait of society in general, and it kind of takes all of us to make sure that we are all indeed equal. And one of these days, hopefully we'll be there. I doubt I'll still be alive before it happens. This is one of those movies that I kind of wish I had watched with somebody so we could talk like this immediately afterwards. Again, crafted well, acted well. I'm going to be the same thing, man. I'm going to give this one a 7 too. Lucky drops on Shudder Thursday, March 4th. Check it out and let us know what you think. I mean, and especially women, please sound off and let us know what themes you took from this, what you got from this film, because we really want to know. We're not just three dicks that get around and talk shit about movies all the time, even though that's kind of what we do. But I'm genuinely curious in your takes. So please comment below what you think of this film. And that's going to wrap it up. Woo!
Thanks for joining us for Stories Around the Campfire. Keep an eye out next couple days. We'll have another story coming your way.
Angela, are you all right?
God, she's a boy.
Hey, I'm Felissa Rose Angela from Sleepaway Camp, and you're watching Death Curse Society. Yeah!
So
You guys are shocking the fuck out of me today with these reviews, because I did not expect you guys to like either of these films.
why? Because we have dicks.
Yes.
So you're putting us in a group, man. You're not supposed to do that.
No, based on
shall go unnamed.
Yeah, you had a dick once.
based on your other reviews. That's what I'm talking about, is just, based on the stuff that I know you guys like, and then based on the stuff that we've seen that I know you guys didn't like.
Property of Arrow Films.
Woo! Hey, thanks guys for watching Death Curse Society. This is Red Crank here. If you enjoyed what you saw, make sure to go up here, hit that subscription button, make sure to hit that bell too so you get a notification whenever we drop some new videos. And speaking of different videos, bam! Right over here we got a couple for you to check out as well. Check these out. Keep watching Death Curse Society. Thanks for tuning in. Woo!